I look stupid, I feel stupid. Hey everyone, and welcome to our showcase on Dark Souls Remaster. Now, by today's request, we're going to do the Balder side sword. Now, it's a straight sword, and it's thrust, and it actually is a thrust weapon. Knights of the ancient kingdom of Balder wielded these rock-solid longswords, which are excellent for thrust attacks. Balder was home of the Night King, Durandal, but the kingdom was reduced to ruins after the widespread outbreak of the undead. Yeah. And some other kingdoms disappear, right? Oh well. Now, the funny thing about this is, it says it's a side sword, but that's a very, monotonous term, but I believe it relates to one specific weapon. Now, as it's clearly not a standard straight sword, it is a rapier, and, well, it's probably referencing a weapon that precedes the rapier of the Spada del Lato, which is Italian, for side sword. Now, looking at the two side by side, you can probably make that assumption. But anyway, this is a weapon that's kind of like the ancestor of the rapier in the 16th century. Just as rapiers are being made and, modernized. So, the Italian knights will wear this at their side to combat various different types of enemies. Maybe ones with heavy armor, as the slender blade was excellent at sneaking in between the gaps of the armor. Although a side sword is a very monotonous term, because back then, in the old medieval warfare, the main weapon was either a halberd, a club, or a spear, with the sword being your backup weapon, or the side sword, if you will. But who knows? They could be referencing this weapon, or something else entirely. Going on to animation set, the standard attack is no different from the standard longsword attacks, it's heavy lumbering swings. The power attack is the standard thrust, though there's no follow-up, it's just straight thrusting. Alright. For late step back attack, it is a quick slash, no different from the longsword, and of course no power version to that. The light rolling attack is uppercut, which seems awkward for a blade of that slenderness, and no power attack version as well. Okay, the plunge attack is a straight up thrust, which is different from the longsword. Now, when you use the weapon in two hands, it is the same two-handed normal attack for a longsword. But however, the power attack is actually a heavy thrust, which is repeating. No different from the single-handed version, but more stronger. Alright, and the light step back attack is no different from the longsword with a bat over the head. And of course, no power attack version to that. The light rolling attack is actually a straight-on heavy thrust. Nice range on that. I think that's the longest reach your character has that attack. And of course, the plunge attack is no different from the one-handed version. Now for the sprint attack, you see it's a quick swing with a weapon, which both versions are from the standard longsword animations. Nothing new there. Now, going on to the stats of the Balder side sword. Base physical, you get 80 damage, which is pretty decent, and you can see with my bonus, it is 68. That's a 50 in every category. The parameter bonus, you get an E for strength and a B for dexterity, which is incredibly high. Especially for this weapon, if you're lucky, you can get it from like one of the starting areas. So for most dex users, getting this weapon is a nice priority. Alright, moving from that, the damage reduction is nothing special to speak of. And the parameter bonus, which is 10 for strength and 14 dexterity, which isn't asking all that much. The durability is less than most other weapons, falling down to 120, which a lot of other weapons start at 200 and above. Other than the katanas, this weapon's on the more fragile side, though it's still clearly usable. The weight is more than respectable at 3.0, making it nice and light. Now, on to the upgrades. Now you get the level 15 upgrade here. Then moving on from that, we got the Divine upgrade. And moving on from that, we got the Occult, which I moved beside the Divine for going forward. Now, for the most powerful versions, it's the Magic and Enchanted. I did the math, and both of them do the same amount of AR, around 720 some. So I'll be using probably the Magic one. Then we got the Fire. Next, we got the Chaos with 35 Humanity. Scaling's a The Raw Small Side Sword. Then we got the Lightning Boulder Side Sword. Then finally finishing off, we got the crystal, which is not even the most powerful. Now, going on to performance, which I got the magic bulb version, because it's either magic or enchanted, either or. Now, you see it as a thrust weapon, it actually punctures through the shield rather nicely. And with a nice heavy jab, you actually got a better reach than most of your standard opponents, especially in the beginning, especially then. So, if you can get your hands on the weapon, it is quite effective. Because I'm not sure there's a whole lot that can really resist you. You say you already outreach a lot of your opponents, you puncture their shields, and it's not slow. So there's no real heavy downsides to this weapon other than its durability. Although it should be stated that this weapon is a terrible slashing weapon. As you'll see throughout my videos, you should pay attention, when I slash my opponent it doesn't do a heck of a lot of damage, but when I stab him with a thrust attack, it does a heavy amount of damage. Almost double of that. So it's pretty good. Pretty good in that respect. So I'll demonstrate here. A slash attack does only 204. And now I'll stab. Boom. 414. That is double. Now I want to take it against the Phalanx because they have shields and they don't stagger. So even against Phalanx, their shield, even though they have probably the strongest standard size shield, it is hopeless against that. Although, kind of in retrospect, taking this sword against a bunch of huge group of enemies, it's not so great for crowd control. A thrust move is good for hitting opponents, especially through each other, but it lacks the damage for the wide swings. So it is better weapons, but it does fine nonetheless on shields. Now I guess the most powerful unnatural size shield is the Giant from Anolondo, or their Guardians. Now, fighting a Giant in this spot, probably fighting the camera more than I am fighting him, but it is fine. Thrust attacks can in fact hit him, which is nice, mainly hitting the legs. But otherwise damage is pretty good, especially on those thrust attacks, almost doing the full amount of damage, despite their armor rating. Alright, against more aggressive opponents, you used to be surprised this thing actually staggers pretty nicely, so one stab, two stabs staggered, and then you can follow with a third one and it's dead. Pretty effective. Now, I took it against Kirk since no one invaded me, and this is more of a natural setting for this weapon, however, he does not stagger, and he took full advantage of that. And as he staggered me, as the Balder armor leaves a lot to be desired in terms of Balder poise. So it could have went better, but I thought first take was actually probably the best accurate rendition of this. So I decided take it against the extra enemy with the most highest armor rating in the game for his size and health pool, and it's the Stone Guardian. Now slash attack does absolutely nothing in terms of damage, but a stab does almost 3 times that, and I almost died just trying to fucking fight him. Moving on to the pros and cons of the Balder Side Sword. On the pros, it is probably one of the better weapons you can acquire early in the game. I think only a Drake Sword is probably the only thing that surpasses it in terms of where it's located. Also, the thrust attack can pretty much pierce all standard size shields. Well, I didn't test it on greater shields, but I don't really have opponents to fight with that too much. Okay, other than that, it's pretty good scaling for a weapon it is, since it has excellent dexterity scaling. On the cons, it's a little fragile compared to most weapons, but still fairly usable. And pretty much that's the only con in my opinion in this weapon. Going on to the score. Damage, I'm going to give a B+, that is a lot of thrust damage when you stab opponents. The reach, I'm going to give a B-, since I rate most weapons at a C+, or a C for center range, and this one's slightly longer. Animation, I'm going to give a B-, because it uses a lot of the longsword animations, but it takes a few new ones that are not used on very many weapons. Scaling, I'm going to give a C+, plenty of scaling, though it just meets the base damage when fully upgraded to level 15, as an example. Miscellaneous, I'm going to give it a C+ as well. It is a good thrusting weapon, but it's not so great for crowd control, as it's just a plain longsword shaped weapon, and it's a little on the fragile side, so a C+ seems appropriate. So in total, I'm not sure if this makes a proper C+ final score or a B-. I think I'm going to go with B- in terms of total score. It's an excellent weapon, Especially for dexterity players, it's kind of a must in the beginning of the game. So what did we learn about the Balder equipment? The armor is terrible and bad looking, but I'll get to that another day. The Balder side sword is excellent. It's good for even people without the dexterity in the beginning. And those with dexterity, well, you got a weapon for the majority of the game. And that's been Showcase for today. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Hope to see you guys next time. Take care out there.